If it is late where you are right now and rest has still not come easily, you are welcome to remain here. If your body feels exhausted, but your heart feels heavy with sadness, regret, or memories that return when the world grows quiet, you do not need to resolve any of it tonight. This moment is not meant for understanding why things were lost or how they might be restored. It is simply a time to stop resisting the ache, to lay down the weight of sorrow, and to let stillness gently hold you. You are allowed to rest here, just as you are. Tonight, as the night settles into deeper silence, we begin our rest with the Book of Lamentations, a sacred companion for anyone who has known grief, disappointment, or the pain of watching something precious fall apart. This book was written for nights like this, when words feel fragile and emotions feel too heavy to carry alone. It gives voice to sorrow that has no easy answers. You do not need to analyze it or search for meaning right now. You only need to listen and breathe. In this quiet hour, you are not alone. The Lord sees the tears you have held back, the grief you may not know how to explain, and the sense of emptiness that follows loss. He knows what it means to sit with pain rather than rush past it. Even when joy feels distant and hope feels dim, God remains near. His presence does not turn away from sorrow, but stays with you inside it. As you listen tonight, allow the words from the Book of Lamentations to soften your breathing and calm your restless thoughts. There is no need to hurry toward healing or closure. A gentle sense of being seen may slowly begin to rise within you. And even in grief, God's faithfulness remains, quiet and steady. He is closer than you think. Before we begin, you are welcome to share where you are listening from and what time it is for you. If there is a sorrow or burden resting on your heart tonight, you may also share a prayer request, even across distance. We are together in this still moment. If this reading brings you comfort, you are invited to stay with us by subscribing to Divine Rest. This is a gentle place where God's word is softly spoken to sit with the brokenhearted, night after night. Here, you are part of a growing family learning to trust God's presence, even in seasons of deep sorrow. Chapter 1. The Widow's City Implanted. Breathe slowly with me now. Beloved, let each breath be gentle, like the softest whisper, barely disturbing the silence. We are about to sit with someone in deep grief, to witness tears that have been held too long, to hear words spoken from a heart that has been shattered. And in this sitting, in this listening, in this tender presence with pain, we will learn something beautiful about how God meets us in our losses, how He honors our tears, how He sits with us in the ruins without rushing us to move on before we are ready. The book opens with a single word in Hebrew, a word that sounds like a gasp, like a sob catching in the throat. How? Just that. How? How did this happen? How did we get here? How can this be real? How lonely sits the city that was full of people. How like a widow has she become. She who was great among the nations. Jerusalem, the city of God, the place where his temple stood, where pilgrims came from every direction, where the streets were filled with the sounds of worship and commerce and children playing. Jerusalem, who was like a princess among the nations, honored and respected, a city that seemed it would stand forever. Now she sits alone, like a widow, like a woman whose husband has died, who sits in her empty house in the evening, surrounded by silence where there used to be laughter, by absence where there used to be presence, by memories that make the emptiness even more unbearable. She weeps bitterly in the night, with tears on her cheeks. Among all her lovers, she has none to comfort her. All her friends have dealt treacherously with her. They have become her enemies. The crying happens at night. Beloved, when the distractions of the day are gone, when there is nothing left to do but face the loss, when the darkness presses in and the emptiness becomes too heavy to carry alone, and she weeps bitterly, not the quiet, controlled tears that we show in public, but the deep, wrenching sobs that come from a place so raw that pretending is no longer possible. And there is no one to comfort her. The nations she thought were her friends, her allies, the ones she trusted, they have all turned away. Some have become enemies. Some simply do not care. She is alone in her grief, without a hand to hold, without a shoulder to cry on, without anyone who understands the depth of what she has lost. Judah has gone into exile because of affliction and hard servitude. She dwells now among the nations, but finds no resting place. Her pursuers have all overtaken her in the midst of her distress. Her people are scattered, carried away to foreign lands, living as refugees, as exiles, as those who do not belong anywhere. They search for a place to rest, for safety, for home, but they find none. Even in their running, their enemies overtake them. There is no escape from the disaster. There is no relief from the pain. The roads to Zion mourn, for none come to her appointed feasts. All her gates are desolate. Her priests groan. Her virgins have been afflicted, and she herself suffers bitterly. The roads are empty. The roads that used to be filled with pilgrims coming to Jerusalem for the feasts, singing as they traveled, bringing offerings and joy and worship. Now those roads are silent. The gates where people used to gather, where elders sat and judged cases and children played, are desolate. The priests who used to lead worship are groaning in despair. The young women who should be dancing at festivals are afflicted with grief. And Jerusalem herself, the city personified as a woman, suffers bitterly. Her foes have become the head, her enemies prosper, because the Lord has afflicted her for the multitude of her transgressions. Her children have gone away, captives before the foe. The ones who used to be enemies are now in charge. They are prospering while Jerusalem suffers, and the reason is named clearly. Without softening, the Lord has afflicted her for the multitude of her transgressions. This suffering is not random. It is consequence. It is the result of years of turning away from God, of breaking covenant, of choosing idols over the living God. And her children, those she loved most, have been taken away as captives. From the daughter of Zion, all her majesty has departed. Her princes have become like deer that find no pasture. They fled without strength before the pursuer. Everything beautiful is gone. All the majesty, the glory, the splendor that once defined Jerusalem has vanished like morning mist. Her leaders, who should be strong and protective, are like deer that cannot find food, too weak to run from danger, collapsing before those who hunt them. Jerusalem remembers in the days of her affliction and wandering all the precious things that were hers from days of old. And this, beloved, this might be the most painful part, the remembering. When you are in the middle of loss, the memories of what used to be make the present pain almost unbearable. Jerusalem remembers. She remembers when she was full of people. She remembers when worship filled the temple. She remembers when her children were safe. She remembers the precious things, the good days, the times when everything seemed secure. And those memories, instead of bringing comfort, deepen the grief because they highlight how much has been lost. And here, dear one, as your breathing continues its gentle rhythm, as your body begins to soften into the quiet of this moment, let me speak tenderly to the losses you carry. Perhaps you too know what it feels like to sit alone in the night, weeping bitterly, with no one who seems to understand. Perhaps you too have memories of better days that make the present pain more acute. Perhaps you too feel like a widow, like someone who has lost what was most precious, who sits in the ruins of what used to be and cannot quite believe this is real. And I want you to hear this with your whole heart. Beloved, you are not weak because you cry. Tears are not a sign of failed faith or inadequate trust. Tears are the language of the soul when words are not enough. Jerusalem weeps bitterly, and this lament is recorded in Scripture, preserved as holy text, given to us as a gift to show us that grief is allowed, that crying in the night is not something to be ashamed of, that God honors our tears even when no one else seems to care. You do not have to be strong right now. You do not have to pull yourself together or look on the bright side or count your blessings when your heart is breaking. You can weep bitterly. You can sit in the silence of your empty house, your empty heart, your empty hands that used to hold what is now gone. You can remember what was precious, even though remembering hurts. You can cry out, "How?" even though there may be no answer that satisfies. You can be honest about the depth of your loss, and God will not turn away from you. He will not shame you for your tears. He will sit with you in the darkness, present even when you cannot feel Him, faithful even when comfort seems far away. Let your shoulders drop now. Dear friend, feel any tension beginning to ease, like a tight fist slowly opening. We have sat with Jerusalem in her grief, and now we listen as she begins to name something difficult, something that takes courage to admit. In the middle of her pain, in the midst of her ruins, she starts to see not just what has been done to her, but what she has done. And in this honest recognition, in this painful acknowledgement, we will find the beginning of healing, the first step toward restoration. Jerusalem sinned grievously, therefore she became filthy. All who honored her despise her, for they have seen her nakedness. She herself groans and turns her face away. The sin is named without excuse, without trying to minimize it or shift blame. Jerusalem sinned, not a little, grievously, and the consequence is shame. She has become filthy in a world that values purity. Those who used to honor her now despise her because they have seen her nakedness, her vulnerability, her exposure. Everything that was supposed to be private, protected, hidden has been laid bare, and she groans and turns her face away because the shame is too much to bear. Her uncleanness was in her skirts. She took no thought of her future. Therefore her fall is terrible. She has no comforter. The uncleanness was there all along, hidden in the folds of her garments, concealed but present. She did not think about where her choices were leading. She lived for the moment, for the pleasure, for what felt good right now, without considering the future consequences. And so her fall, when it came, was terrible, sudden, devastating, complete. And in that fall, she has no comforter. The shame of her sin isolates her even more than the loss itself. O Lord, behold my affliction, for the enemy has triumphed. She cries out to God, even in her shame. Even knowing that her sin contributed to this disaster, she still turns to Him because there is nowhere else to turn. The enemy has triumphed. Everything she feared has come to pass, and she needs God to see. to notice, to care about her affliction, even though she knows she contributed to it. The enemy has stretched out his hands over all her precious things, for she has seen the nations enter her sanctuary, those whom you forbade to enter your congregation. The most sacred space has been violated. The sanctuary, the holy place where only the consecrated could enter, has been invaded by foreign nations, by those who do not know God, by those who were expressly forbidden from this holy ground. Everything sacred has been trampled. Everything set apart has been defiled. All her people groan as they search for bread. They trade their treasures for food to revive their strength. The hunger is so severe that people are selling family treasures, precious heirlooms, anything of value, just to get bread, just to survive one more day. The groaning is not just from grief, but from physical need, from bodies that are failing, from the desperation of watching children starve. And then Jerusalem speaks directly, in first person, her voice breaking through the narrator's description. Look, O Lord, and see, for I am despised. Look at me, God. See what has become of me. See how low I have fallen. See how despised I am. I need you to see. I need you to notice. I need you to care, even though I know this is partly my fault. And here, beloved, as your breathing deepens and your heart begins to settle, let me speak gently to the places where you carry shame along with your grief. Perhaps your loss is not just something that happened to you, but something that happened, at least in part, because of choices you made. Perhaps you can see, looking back, where you sinned grievously, where you did not think about the future, where your uncleanness was hidden but present. Perhaps you are sitting in ruins that are partly of your own making, and the shame of that makes the grief even heavier. And I want you to know, dear one, that recognizing your sin does not make you smaller. It does not diminish you. It does not disqualify you from God's love or comfort. In fact, it opens the door to healing in a way that denial never can. Jerusalem admits her sin. She owns it. She does not make excuses. And in that honest acknowledgement, painful as it is, she is beginning the journey toward restoration. You can bring your shame to God. Beloved, you can say, Lord, I sinned grievously, and now I am sitting in the consequences, and I am despised, and I am exposed, and I do not know how to fix this. You can admit where you failed, where you chose wrongly, where your uncleanness was hidden in your skirts, and God will not turn away from you. He will not add to your shame. He will not say, I told you so, or you deserve this. He will simply see. He will notice your affliction, and he will begin, in his time and his way, the slow work of healing. Acknowledging sin is not about making yourself feel worse. It is about truth-telling. It is about clearing away the denial and the excuses so that genuine healing can begin. It is about admitting that you need a Savior, not just a comforter. It is about understanding that your deepest problem is not just what has been done to you, but what is wrong in you, and that only God can address both. And when you can say, honestly and without pretense, Lord, I have sinned, and I am despised, and I need you, you are finally in a place where he can begin to restore what has been broken, to cleanse what has been defiled, to bring beauty from ashes and joy from mourning. Now, let your body become still. Dear friend, let every muscle soften. Let your mind begin to quiet like a pond when the wind stops blowing. We come now to the most raw, most desperate part of this first lament, where Jerusalem cries out with everything she has left, begging for God and anyone else who will listen to see her pain, to understand her suffering, to acknowledge that what she is experiencing is real and terrible and unbearable. Is it nothing to you? All you who pass by, look and see if there is any sorrow like my sorrow, which was brought upon me, which the Lord inflicted on the day of his fierce anger. She is crying out to everyone, to anyone, to the people who walk past her ruins without stopping, without noticing, without caring. Is this nothing to you? Does my pain mean nothing? Can you not see? Look at me. Really look. See if there is any sorrow like my sorrow. See if anyone anywhere has ever hurt like this. See if you can comprehend the depth of this anguish. And she names the source. The Lord inflicted this on the day of his fierce anger. This is not random suffering. This is divine judgment. This is God's anger poured out. And somehow that makes it even more unbearable because there is no one to appeal to, no higher authority to plead with, no way to escape when the judgment comes from God himself. From on high he sent fire. Into my bones he made it descend. He spread a net for my feet. He turned me back. He has left me stunned, faint all the day long. The fire came from heaven, not from human enemies. It went into her very bones, the deepest part of her being. God set a trap for her feet. He turned her back when she tried to flee. He left her stunned and faint, unable to recover, unable to function, barely able to survive. My transgressions were bound into a yoke. By his hand they were fastened together. They were set upon my neck. He caused my strength to fail. The Lord gave me into the hands of those whom I cannot withstand. Her sins have become a yoke around her neck, heavy and inescapable. God Himself fastened them there. Her strength has failed under the weight, and God gave her into the hands of enemies she cannot fight, cannot resist, cannot overcome. The Lord rejected all my mighty men in my midst. He summoned an assembly against me to crush my young men. The Lord has trodden as in a winepress the virgin daughter of Judah. Even her strongest warriors could not help her. God summoned an assembly, a gathering of enemies, specifically to crush her young men. He has trampled her like grapes in a winepress, crushing out her life, her joy, her future. For these things I weep. My eyes flow with tears, for a comforter is far from me, one to revive my spirit. My children are desolate, for the enemy has prevailed. And so she weeps. She weeps because comfort is far away. She weeps because there is no one to revive her spirit, to breathe life back into her exhausted soul. She weeps because her children are desolate, because the enemy has won, because everything looks hopeless. Zion stretches out her hands, but there is none to comfort her. The Lord has commanded against Jacob that his neighbors should be his foes. Jerusalem has become a filthy thing among them. She reaches out her hands, the universal gesture of need, of pleading, of desperation. But there is no one. No one takes her hand. No one offers help. God Himself has commanded that her neighbors should be her enemies. She has become filthy, disgusting, something to be avoided. The Lord is in the right, for I have rebelled against His word. But hear, all you peoples, and see my suffering. My young women and my young men have gone into captivity. And then comes this remarkable statement: the Lord is in the right. Even in all this pain, even after listing all the terrible things God has done to her, even in the midst of her weeping, Jerusalem acknowledges God is right. I rebelled. This is just. But still, hear me. See my suffering. Even though I deserve this, it still hurts. Even though this is consequence, the pain is still real. I called to my lovers, but they deceived me. My priests and elders perished in the city, while they sought food to revive their strength. The nations she trusted betrayed her. The religious leaders, who should have guided and protected, died while searching for food. Everyone she depended on has failed. Look, O Lord, for I am in distress. My stomach churns, my heart is wrung within me, because I have been very rebellious. In the street, the sword bereaves. In the house, it is like death. This is her final cry. Look, God, see me. My stomach churns with anxiety and hunger. My heart is twisted with pain. I know I have been rebellious. I am not denying it. But I am in such distress. Outside, the sword kills. Inside, death lingers. There is no safe place. There is no escape. They heard my groaning, yet there is no one to comfort me. All my enemies have heard of my trouble. They are glad that you have done it. You will bring the day you have announced, and they shall be like me. People hear her groaning, but no one comforts. Her enemies hear of her trouble and rejoice, glad that God has judged her. But she holds on to one small hope. You will bring the day of judgment on them too. One day they will suffer as I suffer. One day they will understand. Let all their evil doing come before you, and deal with them as you have dealt with me because of all my transgressions. For my groans are many, and my heart is faint. Judge them too. She prays. Let them face consequences for their evil, as I have faced consequences for mine. Because I am exhausted, my groans are many. My heart is faint. I cannot carry this anymore. And here the chapter ends. Not with resolution, not with comfort arriving, not with the pain easing, just with this raw, honest cry, I am in distress. I am faint. I cannot do this anymore. And we are left in the silence that follows. The heavy silence of someone who has poured out everything they have and now has nothing left but to wait, to hope, to trust that God has heard even if He has not yet answered. And here, beloved, as you drift toward sleep, as your eyes grow heavy and your body sinks into rest, I want you to know that your pain is seen. Your groans are heard. Your heart's faintness does not go unnoticed. You can cry out like Jerusalem did. You can say, "Is there any sorrow like my sorrow?" You can plead, "Look, O Lord, and see." You can be honest about your rebellion and honest about your pain at the same time. You can acknowledge that consequences are just while still crying out for mercy. God is big enough to hold all of it. Your anger at Him, your grief over what has happened, your shame over your part in it, your desperate need for Him to see, to care, to act. He does not need you to have it all figured out before you come to Him. He does not need you to be composed or proper or theologically correct in your prayers. He just needs you to be honest. And when you are, when you pour out your heart like Jerusalem did, you will find that even in the silence, even when comfort seems far away, even when your heart is faint, He is there, He is listening. He is holding you, and morning will come. Amen. Chapter 2. Punishment and Horror. There is a cloud, a darkness descending over everything. How the Lord in his anger has set the daughter of Zion under a cloud. He has cast down from heaven to earth the splendor of Israel. He has not remembered his footstool in the day of his anger. The splendor of Israel, everything beautiful and glorious about God's people, has been cast down from heaven to earth. And God has not remembered his footstool, the temple, the place where his presence dwelt. In the day of his anger, even the sacred space seems forgotten. The Lord has swallowed up without mercy all the habitations of Jacob. In his wrath he has broken down the strongholds of the daughter of Judah. He has brought down to the ground in dishonor the kingdom and its rulers. Without mercy, the text says. The Lord has swallowed up, has consumed, has destroyed without mercy. The strongholds, the fortified places that were supposed to keep people safe, have been broken down. The kingdom itself has been brought down to the ground in dishonor. Everything that seemed permanent has fallen. He has cut down in fierce anger all the might of Israel. He has withdrawn from them his right hand in the face of the enemy. He has burned like a flaming fire in Jacob, consuming all around. God's right hand, the symbol of his power and protection, has been withdrawn. When the enemy came, God did not defend his people. Instead, he burned like fire among them, consuming, destroying, acting more like an enemy than a protector. He has bent his bow like an enemy, with his right hand set like a foe. And he has killed all who were delightful in our sight in the tent of the daughter of Zion. He has poured out his fury like fire. This is the most painful image. Beloved, God with his bow drawn, not against Israel's enemies, but against Israel herself. God positioned like a foe, like someone who wants to harm rather than help. And those who were delightful, those who were precious and beloved, have been killed. God's fury has been poured out like fire. The Lord has become like an enemy. He has swallowed up Israel. He has swallowed up all its palaces. He has laid in ruins its strongholds. And he has multiplied in the daughter of Judah mourning and lamentation. The Lord has become like an enemy, not actually an enemy, but appearing as one, acting in ways that feel like enmity. And the result is mourning and lamentation multiplied beyond measure. He has laid in ruins his booth like a garden, laid in ruins his meeting place. The Lord has made Zion forget festival and Sabbath, and in his fierce indignation has spurned king and priest. Even the places of worship, the booth where God met with his people, the meeting place where they gathered to celebrate, have been laid in ruins. The festivals are forgotten. The Sabbath is no longer observed. Both the king and the priest, the civil and religious leaders, have been spurned, rejected, cast aside in God's fierce indignation. The Lord has scorned his altar, disowned his sanctuary. He has delivered into the hand of the enemy the walls of her palaces. They raised a clamor in the house of the Lord, as on the day of festival. The altar where sacrifices were offered has been scorned. The sanctuary, the holy place, has been disowned, and the enemy has raised a clamor, a shout of victory, in the very house of the Lord, in the place where worship songs once rose. The Lord determined to lay in ruins the wall of the daughter of Zion. He stretched out the measuring line. He did not restrain his hand from destroying. He caused rampart and wall to lament. They languished together. God measured out the destruction as carefully as an architect measures out a building. He stretched out the line and determined exactly how much would fall. And he did not restrain his hand. The walls themselves lament, mourning their own destruction. Her gates have sunk into the ground. He has ruined and broken her bars. Her king and princes are among the nations. The law is no more, and her prophets find no vision from the Lord. The gates that used to welcome pilgrims are sunk into rubble. The bars that secured the city are broken. The leaders are scattered among foreign nations. The law, which was supposed to guide them, is no more. And perhaps most terrifying of all, the prophets, who used to receive visions from God, now find none. Heaven is silent. God is not speaking. The vision has ceased. The elders of the daughter of Zion sit on the ground in silence. They have thrown dust on their heads and put on sackcloth. The young women of Jerusalem have bowed their heads to the ground. In the face of all this, there is nothing left to do but sit in silence. The elders, who should have wisdom and words, have none. They sit on the ground, covered in dust and sackcloth, the traditional signs of mourning. The young women, who should be dancing and celebrating, bow their heads to the ground in grief. And here, dear one, as your breathing continues its slow, gentle rhythm, let me speak tenderly to the place in you that knows what it feels like when God seems silent, when his presence feels withdrawn, when you cry out and hear nothing back. This passage is terrifying in its honesty. It does not soften the reality of God's anger or pretend that his judgment is not real. Jerusalem experienced the full weight of divine discipline, and it was devastating. But here is what I need you to understand, beloved. God's silence is not abandonment. God's anger, even when it is fierce, is not the end of the story. The prophets find no vision from the Lord, but that does not mean the Lord is gone forever. It means there is a season, a painful season, when heaven seems closed and God's voice cannot be heard. But Seasons change. Silence does not last forever. And God's discipline, severe as it may be, comes from a Father who has not stopped being Father even when he must allow consequences. When you cannot feel God's presence, when you pray and hear nothing, when heaven seems closed and visions cease, it does not mean you have been abandoned. It may mean you are in a season of discipline, a time when God is allowing you to feel the weight of choices made, the consequences of paths taken. Or it may simply mean that God is silent for reasons you cannot understand, working in ways you cannot see, present even when he feels absent. Hold on, beloved. The silence will not last forever. The anger will not endure. The discipline has a purpose and a limit. And when it is complete, when the season turns, God's voice will be heard again. His presence will be felt again. His mercy will flow again. The temple may be in ruins, but God has not ceased to be God. The altar may be scorned, but sacrifice will be offered again. The prophets may find no vision now, but vision will return. Trust him. Even in the silence, especially in the silence. Let your shoulders drop now, dear friend. Feel the weight beginning to ease, like setting down something you have been carrying too long. We come now to the most heartbreaking part of this lament, to the image that breaks even the strongest heart, to the suffering of children. And in witnessing this, in allowing ourselves to feel the weight of it, we will learn something about pain that is too deep for explanation, about grief that needs not answers but presence, not theology, but embrace. Listen to these words and feel how the narrator's voice breaks with emotion. My eyes are spent with weeping, my stomach churns, my bile is poured out to the ground because of the destruction of the daughter of my people, because infants and babies faint in the streets of the city. His eyes are spent, exhausted from crying. His stomach churns with anguish. His bile, his very insides, are poured out. And the reason, the image that has broken him completely, is the sight of infants and babies fainting in the streets. Not soldiers, not the guilty, but the most innocent, the most vulnerable, suffering in ways they cannot understand, dying in ways they did not deserve. They cry to their mothers, "Where is bread and wine?" as they faint like a wounded man in the streets of the city, as their life is poured out on their mother's bosom. Can you hear it? Beloved, can you hear the children crying for food? Where is bread? Where is wine? The basic needs that mothers are supposed to provide, that keep children alive, are not there, and they faint like wounded soldiers collapsing in the streets, and some die in their mother's arms, their life poured out while their mothers hold them helplessly, unable to save them, unable to do anything but watch. What can I say for you? To what compare you, O daughter of Jerusalem? What can I liken to you, that I may comfort you? O virgin daughter of Zion, for your ruin is vast as the sea. Who can heal you? The narrator is searching for words and finding none. What can I say? What comparison can I make? What comfort can I offer? Your ruin is as vast as the sea, too deep to measure, too wide to cross, too overwhelming to comprehend. Who can heal you? The question hangs in the air, unanswered. Your prophets have seen for you false and deceptive visions. They have not exposed your iniquity to restore your fortunes, but have seen for you oracles that are false and misleading. The false prophets, who should have told the truth, who should have warned and called to repentance, instead gave false visions. They said everything would be fine. They promised peace when there was no peace. They misled the people right up until the moment of destruction. And now their lies have been exposed, but too late to prevent the disaster. All who pass along the way clap their hands at you. They hiss and wag their heads at the daughter of Jerusalem. Is this the city that was called the perfection of beauty, the joy of all the earth? The mockery is cruel. People passing by do not offer sympathy. They clap their hands in derision. They hiss and shake their heads. Is this the city that was so beautiful? Is this the place that was called the joy of all the earth? How the mighty have fallen. How the beautiful has become ugly. How the joyful has become sorrowful. All your enemies rail against you. They hiss. They gnash their teeth. They cry, "We have swallowed her. Ah, this is the day we longed for. Now we have it. We see it." The enemies rejoice in Jerusalem's fall. They rail against her. They gnash their teeth in satisfaction. "We have swallowed her," they say. "We have destroyed her. This is the day we waited for. We see her humiliation with our own eyes." The Lord has done what He purposed. He has carried out His word, which He commanded long ago. He has thrown down without pity. He has made the enemy rejoice over you and exalted the might of your foes. And here is the terrible truth that must be named. The Lord has done this, not just allowed it, done it. He carried out His word, the warnings He gave through prophets for generations. He threw down without pity. He allowed the enemy to rejoice. He exalted the might of Israel's foes. This is not accidental. This is not a failure of divine protection. This is God's judgment being executed exactly as He said it would be. And here, beloved, as your breathing deepens and your heart begins to settle into the quiet of this moment, Let me speak to the pain you carry that has no explanation, no easy answer, no theological framework that makes it acceptable. Sometimes we witness suffering or experience it ourselves. That is so deep, so senseless, so unbearable that words fail. Children dying, innocents suffering, pain that seems far beyond what anyone should have to endure. And what do we do with that? How do we reconcile a loving God with such terrible suffering? How do we make sense of discipline that falls on the vulnerable along with the guilty? The truth is, beloved, sometimes we cannot make sense of it. Sometimes there is no explanation that satisfies. Sometimes pain is simply pain, and suffering is simply suffering. And all our attempts to explain it, or justify it, or fit it into a theological system fall utterly short. And in those moments, what we need is not explanation. What we need is presence. Not someone telling us why this is happening, or how it fits into God's plan, or what we are supposed to learn from it. We need someone to sit with us in the ruins, someone to weep with us, someone to acknowledge that, yes, this is terrible, and no, I cannot explain it, but I am here, and I am not leaving. And your pain matters, and your grief is valid. This is what happens in Lamentations. There is no attempt to justify God's actions or make the suffering make sense. There is simply witness. There are tears. There is naming the pain. There is sitting with it. And somehow, in the honesty of that, in the refusal to minimize or explain away, there is a kind of comfort, not the comfort of answers, but the comfort of being seen, of having your pain acknowledged, of not being alone in the darkness. So tonight, if you are carrying pain that makes no sense, grief that feels unbearable, if you have witnessed suffering that breaks your heart and shakes your faith, know this: you do not need to explain it. You do not need to make it fit into a neat theological box. You do not need to have it all figured out. You can simply feel it. You can weep over it. You can cry out to God about it, even if He seems silent. And in that honest grief, in that refusal to pretend it is anything other than terrible, you are not far from God. You are, in fact, doing exactly what Lamentations teaches us to do. You are telling the truth about pain, and that is holy work. Now let your body become still. Dear friend, let every muscle soften and release. Let your mind begin to quiet like the earth quiets when evening falls. We have sat with Jerusalem in her ruins. We have witnessed suffering that has no easy explanation. And now, in these closing verses, we hear an invitation, a call to action in the midst of despair. a way forward when everything seems hopeless. Cry aloud to the Lord, O wall of the daughter of Zion. Let tears stream down like a torrent day and night. Give yourself no rest, your eyes no respite. This is not a call to stop weeping. This is a call to direct the weeping somewhere, to someone. Cry aloud to the Lord. Let the tears stream. Do not hold back. Do not give yourself rest. Do not stop the tears, but cry to Him. Direct your grief toward the One who can hear, who can help, who can heal. Arise, cry out in the night. At the beginning of the night watches, pour out your heart like water before the presence of the Lord. Lift your hands to Him for the lives of your children, who faint for hunger at the head of every street. Arise in the night, when sleep will not come because the pain is too great. At the beginning of the night watches, when darkness is deepest and morning seems impossibly far away. And do what pour out your heart like water. Not measured prayers, not careful, proper petitions. Pour out your heart like water that cannot be contained, that flows freely, that goes everywhere. Pour it out before the presence of the Lord, and pray specifically for what breaks your heart most, for the lives of your children, for the ones who faint for hunger, for the suffering of the innocent, for the pain that seems most unbearable. Lift your hands to God and plead for them. Do not accept it as inevitable. Do not resign yourself to it. Cry out, beg, plead, pour out your heart. And then Jerusalem speaks, taking up the invitation, pouring out her heart in the most raw, honest prayer. Look, O Lord, and see, with whom have you dealt thus? Should women eat the fruit of their womb, the children of their tender care, should priest and prophet be killed in the sanctuary of the Lord? Look and see, she cries. See what has happened. See what we have been reduced to. Women are eating their own children because there is no other food. Can you see that? God, can you comprehend what desperation has driven us to, and priests and prophets, your servants, are being killed in your sanctuary, in the place that should be safest, in the house you called your own? Should this be? Is this right? Can you see this and not act? In the dust of the streets lie the young and the old. My young women and my young men have fallen by the sword. You have killed them in the day of your anger, slaughtering without pity. Everyone is dying, young and old, women and men, all lying in the dust of the streets. And you killed them. God, you did this. In the day of your anger, You slaughtered without pity. This is not an accusation from an outsider. This is a broken child crying to her father, saying, "You did this. How could you do this? You summoned as if to a festival day my terrors on every side, and on the day of the anger of the Lord, no one escaped or survived. Those whom I held and raised my enemy destroyed. The terrors came from every side, as numerous as the crowds that used to come to festivals. But instead of joy and celebration, there was only death. No one escaped. No one survived. The children I held and raised, Jerusalem cries, my enemy destroyed them. And you let them. You allowed it. You summoned it." And here these words end, with this raw, honest, almost accusatory prayer, with questions that have no answers given, with grief poured out but not yet comforted, with Jerusalem having done what she was told to do, cry aloud to the Lord, pour out her heart but with no immediate relief, no divine response recorded, no comfort descending from heaven. And this, beloved, this might be the most important lesson of all. Sometimes pouring out your heart to God does not result in immediate comfort. Sometimes crying aloud to Him does not stop the pain right away. Sometimes you lift your hands and plead, and the situation does not change. The suffering does not end. The questions remain unanswered. But you do it anyway. You pour out your heart anyway. Not because it guarantees a quick fix, but because it is the only honest response to unbearable pain. Because holding it in will destroy you. Because pretending everything is fine when it is not will poison your soul. Because God can handle your raw honesty, your desperate questions, your accusations even, in a way that religious pretense cannot. So tonight, as you drift toward sleep, as your body finally begins to rest after the burdens of this day, I invite you to do what Lamentations teaches. Pour out your heart like water before the presence of the Lord, not in careful, measured words, not in theologically correct prayers, but honestly, rawly, completely. Tell Him what hurts. Tell Him what makes no sense. Tell Him what you wish He had done differently. Tell Him about the children who are suffering, the innocents who are in pain, the situations that seem unbearable. Lift your hands and cry out in the night. And if He does not answer immediately, if comfort does not come right away, if the pain does not ease tonight, know that you have still done something important. You have refused to carry this alone. You have directed your grief toward someone who is big enough to hold it. You have poured out your heart before the one who understands, even if He does not immediately explain. And that is enough for now. That is faithful. That is holy. Let your breathing slow now, beloved. Let each breath carry you deeper into rest. Let your heart, which has been holding so much, finally release its grip. You have poured it out. You have been honest. You have cried aloud. And God has heard, even if He has not yet answered. He is present, even if He feels absent. And He is working, even in the silence, even in the darkness, even in the pain that makes no sense. Trust Him tonight. Rest in Him. Pour out your heart, and then let Him hold you while you sleep. Amen. Chapter 3. A ray of hope amidst the darkness. A single voice speaks now, not just for himself, but for all the people, carrying the weight of collective suffering in words so raw, so honest, that they give us permission to speak our own despair without shame. I am the man who has seen affliction under the rod of His wrath. One person speaks, but he speaks for everyone. I am the man. I am the one. I have seen affliction. I know what it is to be struck by the rod of God's anger. I have felt it in my bones. I have carried it in my soul. I am not speaking theory. I am speaking from experience, from the deep well of personal suffering. He has driven and brought me into darkness without any light. Surely against me He turns His hand again and again the whole day long. God has driven me into darkness, He says, not just allowed it, driven me there, pushed me into a place where there is no light, no hope, no way to see where I am going, and His hand turns against me, not once but again and again, all day long. There is no respite. There is no break from the pain. It is constant, relentless, overwhelming. He has made my flesh and my skin waste away. He has broken my bones. He has besieged and enveloped me with bitterness and tribulation. He has made me dwell in darkness like the dead of long ago. The suffering is physical and spiritual, flesh and skin wasting away, bones broken, and emotionally, He is besieged, surrounded by bitterness and tribulation, like an army surrounding a city with no way out. He dwells in darkness like the dead, like those who have been gone so long that everyone has forgotten them. He has walled me about so that I cannot escape. He has made my chains heavy, though I call and cry for help. He shuts out my prayer. The feeling of being trapped, beloved, the walls closing in, the chains so heavy they cannot be lifted, and the prayers, the desperate cries for help, seem to go nowhere. They are shut out. God is not listening, or if He is listening, He is not responding. The silence is deafening. He has blocked my ways with blocks of stones. He has made my paths crooked. He is a bear lying in wait for me, a lion in hiding. He turned aside my ways and tore me to pieces. He has made me desolate. Every path is blocked. Every way forward is crooked, twisted, impossible to navigate. And God Himself is like a predator, like a bear waiting to attack, like a lion hiding in ambush. He has torn me to pieces. He has made me desolate, empty, destroyed, alone. He bent His bow and set me as a target for His arrow. He drove into my kidneys the arrows of His quiver. I have become the laughingstock of all peoples, the object of their taunts all day long. He has filled me with bitterness. He has sated me with wormwood. God has used me for target practice. He says, His arrows have pierced my kidneys, the most painful, most vulnerable place. And people mock me. They laugh at my suffering. They taunt me all day. I am filled with bitterness, with wormwood. That plant so bitter it is used as a symbol for the worst kind of suffering. He has made my teeth grind on gravel and made me cower in ashes. My soul is bereft of peace. I have forgotten what happiness is. So I say, my endurance has perished, so has my hope from the Lord. Grinding teeth on gravel, feeling the pain of biting into stone, cowering in ashes, the position of deepest mourning. My soul has no peace. I have forgotten what happiness feels like. I cannot even remember what it was like to be happy. And here is the terrible conclusion. My endurance is gone. My hope is gone. I have no hope from the Lord, not anymore. I cannot see a way forward. I cannot imagine things getting better. Hope itself has died. And here, dear one, as your breathing continues its gentle rhythm, let me speak tenderly to the place in you that knows this kind of despair. Perhaps you too have felt like you are living in darkness without any light. Perhaps you too have felt God's hand turning against you again and again. Perhaps you too have cried out in prayer and felt like your words hit a wall, like heaven is silent, like no one is listening. Perhaps you too have reached the place where you cannot remember what happiness feels like, where hope itself seems like a distant memory, where you look at the future and see nothing but more darkness. And here is what I want you to understand. Beloved, God allows this honesty. He permits this kind of raw, desperate, hopeless speech. This is in the Bible. This is Scripture. This is a voice that says, I have no hope from the Lord. And God does not strike him down for saying it. God does not condemn him for his despair. God lets him speak the truth about his pain. even when that truth includes the terrible admission that hope is gone. You can be this honest with God. Dear friend, you can tell Him that you feel abandoned, that His hand feels like it is turned against you, that your prayers seem to go nowhere, that you have forgotten what happiness is, that your hope is gone. You do not have to pretend to be okay when you are not. You do not have to manufacture hope when you feel none. You can sit in the darkness and say, I am in darkness. I see no light. I have no hope. And God will not turn away from you. He will sit in the darkness with you. He will hold you even when you cannot feel Him holding you. And He will wait patiently for the moment when hope can begin to flicker again in your devastated heart. Let your shoulders drop now. Beloved, feel any remaining tension flowing out of your body like water flowing downhill. We have been in the deepest darkness, in the place where hope seems dead. And now, right here in the middle of despair, something shifts. A memory stirs. A truth resurfaces, and in the space of a few verses, we will witness one of the most beautiful transitions in all of Scripture. From hopelessness to hope, from death to life, from night to the first faint light of dawn. Remember my affliction and my wandering, the wormwood and the gall. My soul continually remembers it and is bowed down within me. He is still remembering the pain, still feeling the bitterness, still bowed down under the weight of it. Nothing has changed externally. The situation is the same. The suffering continues. But something is about to change internally, in the way he sees it, in what he chooses to focus on. But this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. But this, two small words that change everything. But this, I call to mind. I choose to remember. I turn my attention to something else. And therefore, because of what I am about to remember, I have hope. Hope is not gone after all. It was buried. But it is not dead. And here is what brings it back to life. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Let those words wash over you, beloved. Let them sink into the deepest places of your heart. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. Never. Not when you are in darkness. Not when you feel abandoned. Not when your prayers seem unheard. Not when hope appears dead. His love keeps going. It does not stop. It does not fail. It does not run out. His mercies never come to an end. There is no limit to them. There is no bottom to the well. There is no point at which God says, that is enough mercy. I have given all I have. His mercies keep flowing like a spring that never runs dry, like a fountain that never stops giving water. They are new every morning, not recycled, not the same old mercy you had yesterday. New, fresh, tailored to today's needs. Every single morning, when you wake up, when you open your eyes to face another day that feels too hard, there are new mercies waiting. You have not exhausted them. You have not used them all up. There are new ones for today. Great is your faithfulness. God's faithfulness is not small or conditional or dependent on your performance. It is great, vast, reliable, as certain as the sun rising, as dependable as the seasons changing. You can count on it. You can lean your whole weight on it. You can trust it when you cannot trust anything else. The Lord is my portion, says my soul. Therefore, I will hope in Him. My portion, not just a part of my life, but my inheritance, my share, the thing that is mine. The Lord Himself is what I have. And because I have Him, because He is my portion, I will hope. Not because circumstances have changed, not because the pain has lessened, but because of who He is, and because He is mine, and I am His. The Lord is good to those who wait for Him, to the soul who seeks Him. It is good that one should wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord. Wait for Him, seek Him, and do it quietly, without demanding, without insisting on immediate answers, without forcing a timeline. The salvation will come, but it comes in His time, not ours. And in the waiting, He is good, not absent, not cruel, good, present, sustaining, holding. It is good for a man that he bear the yoke in his youth. Let him sit alone in silence when it is laid on him. Let him put his mouth in the dust, there may yet be hope. The yoke, that symbol of burden and suffering, is not meaningless. Bearing it, especially when we are young, when we are still being formed, teaches us things that ease could never teach. Sitting alone in silence, not fighting or protesting, but simply being still, putting your mouth in the dust, the posture of deepest humility, of complete surrender. And even there, especially there may yet be hope. Let him give his cheek to the one who strikes him. Let him be filled with insults. For the Lord will not cast off forever, but, though he cause grief, he will have compassion according to the abundance of his steadfast love. For he does not afflict from his heart, or grieve the children of men. Endure the suffering with patience and humility. not because suffering is good in itself, but because it is not forever. The Lord will not cast off forever. He may cause grief. Yes. He may allow affliction. Yes. But it will not last. Compassion will come. And here is the crucial truth. He does not afflict from his heart. It is not his nature to cause pain. It is not what he wants to do. It is not what brings him joy. For he does not willingly afflict or grieve the children of men. Willingly, from his heart, with pleasure. No. When God allows suffering, it is not because he enjoys it. It is not because he is cruel or capricious or indifferent. He grieves when we grieve. He feels the pain he permits, and he only allows it because he knows something we do not, because he sees an end we cannot see, because he is working toward a redemption we cannot yet imagine. And here, beloved, as your breathing deepens and your body begins to soften into rest, let this truth about God's character settle into every corner of your soul. His love never ceases. His mercies are new every morning. His faithfulness is great. He is your portion. He is good to those who wait for him. He will not cast off forever. He will have compassion. He does not afflict from his heart. He does not willingly grieve his children. This is who God is, even when everything in your life seems to contradict it. This is the truth about his nature, even when your circumstances scream the opposite. This is what you can hold on to when hope feels dead and darkness feels permanent and prayers feel unanswered. His love, his mercy, his faithfulness, his compassion. These do not change based on what you feel or what you see or what you are going through. They are constant. They are reliable. They are new every morning, waiting for you when you wake, sustaining you through the day, holding you through the night. You may not see how this pain will end. You may not understand why it had to happen. You may not feel his presence, or hear his voice, or sense his comfort, but his steadfast love never ceases. And that is enough. That has to be enough, because it is true, whether you feel it or not. And one morning, maybe not today but someday, you will wake up and the mercies will be new, and you will be able to receive them, and hope will flicker to life again. And you will discover that you survived the darkness because his faithfulness held you even when you could not hold on to anything yourself. Now let your body become completely still. Dear friend, let every muscle release. Let your breath become so gentle it barely moves. We have heard the declaration of God's faithfulness, the affirmation that his love never ceases. And now we listen as this truth is worked out in practical, everyday terms. As the voice speaks of how to live in the gap between suffering and salvation, how to wait when the waiting is hard, how to hope when the circumstances have not yet changed, to crush underfoot all the prisoners of the earth, to deny a man justice in the presence of the Most High, to subvert a man in his lawsuit. The Lord does not approve. God sees injustice. He notices when prisoners are crushed, when people are denied justice, when lawsuits are perverted. He does not approve. He is not blind to wrong. He is not indifferent to suffering caused by human cruelty. He sees, he knows, and he will act in his time. Who has spoken and it came to pass, unless the Lord has commanded it? Is it not from the mouth of the Most High that good and bad come? Nothing happens without God's knowledge, without His permission, without fitting somehow into His sovereign plan. Both good and bad come from Him, not in the sense that He is the author of evil, but in the sense that He allows both, uses both, works through both to accomplish purposes we cannot fully understand. Why should a living man complain, a man, about the punishment of his sins? Let us test and examine our ways and return to the Lord. Why complain when we are still alive, when we still have breath, when there is still opportunity to return? Instead of complaining, let us examine our ways. Let us look honestly at where we have gone wrong, and let us return to the Lord, not in fear, but in trust, not in shame, but in hope, knowing that He receives those who come back to Him. Let us lift up our hearts and hands to God in heaven. We have transgressed and rebelled, and you have not forgiven. Lift up your hearts and hands. Acknowledge the transgression. Admit the rebellion, and be honest about where you are. You have not forgiven. Not yet. The forgiveness has not come yet. The restoration has not happened yet. But we are asking. We are waiting. We are hoping that it will come. You have wrapped yourself with anger and pursued us, killing without pity. You have wrapped yourself with a cloud so that no prayer can pass through. You have made us scum and garbage among the peoples. The accusations continue. You have been angry. You have pursued us with judgment. You have wrapped yourself in a cloud so our prayers cannot reach you. You have allowed us to become despised by everyone. These are not easy words to pray. This is not a sanitized religious petition. This is raw honesty about how God's actions have felt, about the pain they have caused. All our enemies open their mouths against us. Panic and pitfall have come upon us. Devastation and destruction. My eyes flow with rivers of tears because of the destruction of the daughter of my people. The enemies mock. The panic and the pitfalls are real. The devastation is overwhelming, and the tears flow like rivers. There is no pretending this is not terrible. There is no silver lining being forced onto this dark cloud. My eyes will flow without ceasing, without respite, until the Lord from heaven looks down and sees. The tears will not stop, he says, until God looks down, until God sees, until God acts. The crying is a form of prayer, a persistent plea, a refusal to accept this as the final word. My soul is bereft of peace. I have forgotten what happiness is. We have heard these words before. The despair is real. The loss of peace is genuine. The forgetting of happiness is not exaggeration. But now, after remembering God's faithfulness, after recalling His mercies that are new every morning, these same words are spoken in a different key. There is still pain, but there is now also hope beneath the pain, a foundation that is holding even when everything feels like it is falling apart. The Lord is good to those who wait for Him, to the soul who seeks Him. The repetition is intentional. This truth needs to be said again and again until it sinks in, until it becomes the bedrock on which we stand. The Lord is good to those who wait. Keep waiting. Keep seeking. Do not give up. Let him sit alone in silence when it is laid on him. Let him put his mouth in the dust, there may yet be hope. Let him give his cheek to the one who strikes him. Let him be filled with insults. Sit in silence. Put your mouth in the dust. That posture of complete humility, of utter dependence, of abandoning all pretense of self-sufficiency. There may yet be hope, not certainty, not guarantee, but possibility. And sometimes, when you are in the depths, possibility is enough to keep you breathing, to keep you waiting, to keep you holding on. For the Lord will not cast off forever. But, though He cause grief, He will have compassion according to the abundance of His steadfast love. This is the anchor. This is what holds. Not forever. The grief is not permanent. The casting off is not final. Compassion will come. According to the abundance of His steadfast love, which never ceases, which is new every morning, compassion will flow again. And the chapter continues with more honest prayers, more raw admissions of pain, more pleas for God to see and act and vindicate and rescue. You came near when I called on you. You said, "Do not fear." You have taken up my cause. O Lord, you have redeemed my life. God came near. God spoke. God took up the cause. God redeemed. Not in some distant theological sense, but in actual, tangible, experienced reality. The voice remembers times when God answered, when He helped, when He came through, and those memories sustain hope for the future. And here, beloved, as sleep begins to pull you gently into its embrace, as your consciousness starts to blur and soften. Let this final word rest on your heart like a blessing. When everything feels hopeless, when you are putting your mouth in the dust, when you are sitting alone in silence bearing a yoke you did not choose, remember this: His steadfast love never ceases. His mercies are new every morning. Great is His faithfulness, and He will not cast you off forever. The grief He has caused, or allowed, or permitted is not the end. Compassion is coming. Restoration is on its way. The dawn will break. You may not see it yet. You may not feel it now. You may still be in the darkest part of the night. But morning is coming. His mercies are waiting, and when you wake, whenever you wake, whether that is tomorrow or next week or next year, there will be new mercies there for you, fresh and ready, prepared by a God whose love never stops, whose faithfulness never fails, whose compassion will never run dry. Rest now, dear child. Rest in the steadfast love that holds you even when you cannot feel it. Rest in the faithfulness that sustains you even when you are too tired to trust. Rest in the mercies that will be new tomorrow morning, waiting for you like dew on the grass, fresh and life-giving and exactly what you need. You are held. You are loved. You are not forsaken. And His steadfast love, His unchanging, unceasing, unfailing love, will carry you through until morning comes. Amen. Chapter 4. Seeing the root causes of destruction straightway, how the gold has grown dim, how the pure gold is changed. The holy stones lie scattered at the head of every street. Gold, that most precious metal, that symbol of beauty and value and permanence, has lost its luster. It has grown dim. It has changed. And the holy stones, the stones from the temple itself, the sacred materials that were supposed to be treasured and protected, are scattered in the streets like common rubble. What was precious has been treated as worthless. What was sacred has been profaned. The precious sons of Zion, worth their weight in fine gold, how they are regarded as earthen pots, the work of a potter's hands, the people themselves, God's own children, those who were once valued like fine gold, are now treated like cheap clay pots, like vessels that can be broken and discarded without thought. Their worth has not actually changed in God's eyes, beloved, but in the world's eyes they have become nothing. The ones who used to be honored are now despised. Even jackals offer the breast. They nurse their young. But the daughter of my people has become cruel, like the ostriches in the wilderness. Even wild animals care for their young, even jackals, those scavengers that roam the desert, nurse their babies. But the people of Jerusalem have become like ostriches, who are known for abandoning their eggs, for being neglectful of their offspring, not because they want to be cruel, but because the famine is so severe, the suffering so intense, that normal maternal instincts are overwhelmed by desperation. The tongue of the nursing infant sticks to the roof of its mouth for thirst. The children beg for food, but no one gives to them. Can you hear the quiet horror in these words? Babies so thirsty, their tongues stick to the roofs of their mouths. Children begging for food and finding none. Not because people are heartless, but because there is nothing to give. The cupboards are empty. The wells are dry. The resources are gone. Those who once feasted on delicacies perish in the streets. Those who were brought up in purple embrace ash heaps. The wealthy, those who used to eat the finest foods, who wore purple robes, the color of royalty and privilege, are now dying in the streets, lying on ash heaps, reduced to the same level as the poorest of the poor. All distinctions have been erased by the leveling power of disaster. Suffering does not discriminate between rich and poor, between noble and common, between those who had and those who had not. For the chastisement of the daughter of my people has been greater than the punishment of Sodom, which was overthrown in a moment, and no hands were wrung for her. Jerusalem's suffering has lasted longer than Sodom's. Sodom was destroyed quickly, in an instant, and then it was over. But Jerusalem's agony has been drawn out, prolonged, day after day of siege and starvation, and watching everything fall apart slowly. Sometimes beloved. Sometimes quick destruction is more merciful than slow decay. Her princes were purer than snow, whiter than milk. Their bodies were more ruddy than coral. The beauty of their form was like sapphire. This is remembering what was. The princes, the leaders, used to be beautiful, healthy, vibrant, pure as snow, ruddy with health like coral, beautiful as sapphire. Everything about them spoke of life, of vigor, of blessing. Now their face is blacker than soot. They are not recognized in the streets. Their skin has shriveled on their bones. It has become as dry as wood. But now they are unrecognizable, blackened by malnutrition and exposure, so thin that their skin clings to their bones, dried out like wood. The beauty is gone. The health is gone. The blessing is gone. And in its place is this terrible transformation from glory to ruin, from abundance to starvation, from life to a kind of living death. Happier were the victims of the sword than the victims of hunger who wasted away, pierced by lack of the fruits of the field. Those who died quickly by the sword were fortunate compared to those who are dying slowly of starvation. To waste away day by day, to feel your body consuming itself for lack of food, to watch your children fade before your eyes. This is a torment beyond what the sword inflicts. Death by hunger is a prolonged agony that strips away dignity and humanity bit by bit. The hands of compassionate women have boiled their own children. They became their food during the destruction of the daughter of my people. And here we come to the most unspeakable horror, the thing that represents the absolute nadir of human suffering. Compassionate women, mothers who loved their children, have been driven by starvation to do the unthinkable. They have eaten their own children, not because they stopped loving them, but because the famine was so severe, the desperation so complete, that the instinct for survival overwhelmed every other consideration. And here, beloved, as your breathing continues its slow, gentle rhythm, let me speak very carefully about what this suffering means, this pain, this devastation, this reduction of human beings to their most desperate state is not God's ultimate purpose. It is not what He delights in. It is not His heart's desire. This suffering exists to wake people up, to show them the end result of a path they have been walking, to bring them to a place where they can finally see what needs to be seen and change what needs to be changed. God does not send pain because He enjoys it. He allows consequences because He loves us too much to let us continue in ways that will ultimately destroy us. The pain is meant to awaken, not to condemn. It is meant to turn us around, not to crush us beyond recovery. And even in the middle of the worst suffering, even when mothers are driven to eat their children and princes waste away in the streets, God's mercies are still new every morning. His steadfast love still never ceases. The suffering is not the final word. It is the wake-up call that precedes restoration. Let your shoulders drop now, dear friend. Feel any tension beginning to ease, like ice slowly melting in spring warmth. We have looked at the suffering, and now we must look at its cause. Not to heap shame on anyone, not to point fingers in accusation, but to understand, to learn, to see clearly so that healing can begin and the same mistakes need not be repeated. The Lord gave full vent to His wrath. He poured out His hot anger, and He kindled a fire in Zion that consumed its foundations. God's anger was real. It was not a metaphor. It was not a gentle displeasure. It was wrath, hot anger, a fire that consumed everything down to the foundations. This is what happens when patience is exhausted, when warnings are ignored for too long, when consequences can no longer be held back. The kings of the earth did not believe, nor any of the inhabitants of the world, that foe or enemy could enter the gates of Jerusalem. Everyone thought Jerusalem was invincible. The kings of other nations looked at the city and assumed it could never fall. The people who lived there believed the same. We have the temple, they thought. We have God's presence. Nothing can touch us. The city was supposed to be impregnable, protected by divine favor that would never be withdrawn. This was for the sins of her prophets and the iniquities of her priests, who shed in the midst of her the blood of the righteous. And here we see the reason, the cause that brought down the seemingly invincible city. It was the sins of the prophets, those who were supposed to speak God's truth. It was the iniquities of the priests, those who were supposed to lead the people in worship and righteousness. They shed the blood of the righteous in the midst of the city. They allowed injustice. They participated in it. They blessed what God condemned and condemned what God blessed. They wandered, blind, through the streets. They were so defiled with blood that no one was able to touch their garments. The leaders, the prophets and priests, wander like blind men through the streets. They are defiled with blood. With the guilt of the innocent, they failed to protect. The righteous they allowed to be destroyed. People cannot even touch their garments because the defilement is so complete. "Away, unclean," people cried at them. "Away, away, do not touch." So they became fugitives and wanderers. People said among the nations, "They shall stay with us no longer." The very people they were supposed to lead now cry out against them. "Away, unclean. Do not touch us." The leaders have become fugitives, wanderers, rejected by their own people and unwelcome among the nations. No one wants them. No one will shelter them. Their authority is gone. Their position is gone. Their credibility is destroyed. The Lord Himself has scattered them. He will regard them no more. No honor was shown to the priests, no favor to the elders. God Himself has scattered them. He will not regard them anymore. The priests receive no honor. The elders receive no favor. The consequences are complete. Those who led the people astray have lost everything. And here, beloved, as your breathing deepens and your body begins to soften, let me speak gently to those who have been hurt by leaders who failed them, who misled them, who abused their trust. The pain of being betrayed by those who were supposed to protect you is a deep wound. When prophets speak lies instead of truth, when priests corrupt worship instead of leading it rightly, when leaders use their position for personal gain instead of serving the people they lead, the damage goes beyond the immediate harm. It shatters trust. It makes it hard to believe anyone. It makes faith itself feel dangerous. But here is what you need to know. Dear one, God sees. God knows. God holds leaders accountable in ways we cannot. The prophets who spoke false peace, the priests who shed the blood of the righteous, the elders who perverted justice. They did not escape. They became fugitives and wanderers. They lost everything. God scattered them. And God will do the same with every leader who abuses their position, who misleads their people, who uses spiritual authority for corrupt purposes. You are not wrong to be angry about what was done to you. You are not weak for having lost trust. You are not faithless for questioning. When leaders fail this badly, when they cause this much harm, anger is appropriate. Caution is wisdom. And the slow work of learning to trust again is not lack of faith, but the natural healing process after betrayal. But do not let the failure of human leaders destroy your faith in God. They failed. God did not. They lied. God's truth stands. They corrupted what was supposed to be holy. But God Himself remains holy, and He is just as angry about their corruption as you are. More so, because they did it in His name, and they damaged not just people, but people's ability to trust Him. That is a sin He takes very seriously, and He will not let it stand without consequence. Now, let your body become still. Dear friend, let every muscle release its hold. Let your mind begin to quiet like the earth quiets when evening falls. We have looked at suffering and its causes. We have named the failure of leaders and the consequences that followed. And now we come to the final realization. The moment when all human resources are exhausted and there is nowhere left to turn but up. No one left to depend on but God. Our eyes failed, ever watching vainly for help. In our watching, we watched for a nation which could not save. They watched for help, day after day, looking to the horizon, hoping to see armies coming to rescue them, allies riding to their aid. But the help never came. The nation they were watching for, the power they thought would save them, could not, or would not, or arrived too late. Their eyes failed from watching. The strain of hoping for rescue that never came was exhausting. They dogged our steps so that we could not walk in our streets. Our end drew near. Our days were numbered, for our end had come. The enemy was so close they could not walk safely in their own streets. Every step was watched. Every movement was restricted. And they knew, they could feel it, that the end was near. Their days were numbered. Time was running out. The siege would not last forever, but not because relief was coming, because the city was about to fall. Our pursuers were swifter than the eagles in the heavens. They chased us on the mountains. They lay in wait for us in the wilderness. When some tried to escape, the enemy was too fast. Swift as eagles, relentless in pursuit, they chased them into the mountains. They waited for them in the wilderness. There was no escape. Every route was blocked. Every refuge was watched. The breath of our nostrils, the Lord's anointed, was captured in their pits, of whom we said, "Under his shadow we shall live among the nations." Even the king, God's anointed, the one they thought would protect them, was captured. He fell into their traps, and all the hopes they had placed in him, all the security they felt under his rule, all the plans to live safely under his shadow came to nothing. Human leadership, even anointed leadership, even God's chosen king, could not save them when judgment came. Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, you who dwell in the land of Uz. But to you also the cup shall pass. You shall become drunk and strip yourself bare. There is a word for Edom here, for the nation that rejoiced in Jerusalem's fall, that took pleasure in seeing God's people destroyed. Rejoice now, the text says, but your turn is coming. The cup of God's wrath that Jerusalem drank will come to you too. You will become drunk on it. You will be stripped bare. No one escapes judgment forever. Those who celebrate others' downfall will face their own. The punishment of your iniquity, O daughter of Zion, is accomplished. He will keep you in exile no longer, but your iniquity, O daughter of Edom, he will punish. He will uncover your sins. And here, finally, is the word of hope that Jerusalem needs to hear. Your punishment is accomplished. It is finished. It is complete. God will not keep you in exile forever. The discipline has an end. The consequences have a limit. The suffering will not last eternally. But Edom's judgment is just beginning. God will punish their iniquity. He will uncover their sins. What goes around comes around. Justice will be done. And here, beloved, as sleep begins to pull you gently toward rest, as your eyes grow heavy and your thoughts begin to blur, let this final word settle into your heart. When human help runs out, when every nation that could save proves unable or unwilling, when even anointed leaders cannot protect you, when you have exhausted every earthly resource and still the situation has not changed, you are finally in a position to discover what faith really means. Faith is not trusting God when you also have backup plans. faith is not depending on Him while also depending on a dozen other things. Real faith, the kind that transforms and saves and sustains, comes when there is nothing left to trust but God, when the nation that was supposed to help did not come, when the king who was supposed to protect was captured, when your own eyes failed from watching for rescue that never arrived. That is when faith becomes real, becomes deep, becomes the only thing holding you together. And here is the promise you can hold tonight. The punishment of your iniquity is accomplished. If you are in Christ, if you have come to Him in repentance and faith, your judgment has already been borne. Not by you, but by Him. On the cross, in your place. The exile will not last forever. The discipline has an end. The suffering has a purpose and a limit. And when it is complete, when the refining is done, when the season turns, you will not be kept in exile any longer. God will bring you home. He will restore what was lost. He will rebuild what was destroyed. He will heal what was broken. Not because you earned it, not because you suffered enough, but because His steadfast love never ceases. His mercies are new every morning, and His faithfulness is great. The help you need will not come from human nations or earthly powers or political alliances. It will come from Him. And it will be enough. It will be more than enough. It will be everything you need and more than you could have imagined. So, rest now, dear child. Rest in the knowledge that when all human help fails, God remains. When every earthly resource is exhausted, His resources are infinite. When you have nothing left to depend on, you can depend on Him, and He will not fail you. He will not abandon you. He will complete what He began, will finish the work He started, will bring you through to the other side where mercy waits and restoration beckons, and home is finally within reach again. Sleep now. You are held. You are safe. You are His. And that is enough. Amen. Chapter 5. The Final Prayer. Breathe slowly with me now, beloved. Let each breath be like a gentle wave, rhythmic and peaceful, carrying you deeper into stillness. We have journeyed through 4 chapters of grief, through the depths of sorrow and the glimmer of hope, through the naming of sin and the exhaustion of human resources. And now we come to the final prayer, the last words of this book of tears. Not a neat conclusion, not a happy ending tied with a bow, but an honest, communal cry that lifts up to heaven when words fail, and all that is left is the simple plea, remember us. Remember, O Lord, what has befallen us. Look and see our disgrace. This is how the final prayer begins. not with eloquent theology or carefully constructed arguments, but with the simplest, most basic request a child can make to their father. Remember, just remember us. Do not forget. Do not overlook. Do not turn away. See what has happened to us. Look at our disgrace. Notice our pain. We are here, broken and hurting, and we need you to see. There is something profoundly healing in this simple prayer. Dear friend, when you are in such pain that you cannot think straight, when grief has robbed you of the ability to pray properly, when you have no energy left for elaborate petitions or theological precision, you can always say this, Lord, remember me. Look at me. See what has happened. That is enough. That is a complete prayer. That is all God needs to hear. Our inheritance has been turned over to strangers, our homes to foreigners. Everything that was supposed to be theirs, the land God gave them, the houses they built, the inheritance passed down through generations, has been given to strangers. People who do not know their history, who do not understand the significance, who have no connection to what these places mean, now possess them. The sense of displacement, of having lost not just property but identity, is overwhelming. We have become orphans, fatherless. Our mothers are like widows. This is the language of abandonment, of having lost the primary relationships that give security and identity. They feel like orphans even though God is supposed to be their father. Their mothers feel like widows even though their husbands may still be alive, because the protection and provision that husbands were supposed to give is gone. They are vulnerable, exposed, without the sheltering presence they once knew. We must pay for the water we drink. The wood we get must be bought. Our necks are under persecution. We are weary. We are given no rest. The most basic necessities, things that should be freely available, now come at a cost they can barely afford. Water that used to flow from their own wells must be purchased. Wood that used to be gathered from their own land must be bought. And they are under constant persecution, constant pressure, driven relentlessly with no opportunity to rest. They are exhausted to the core, running on empty with no relief in sight. We have given the hand to Egypt and to Assyria to get bread enough. In their desperation, they have reached out to old enemies, old oppressors, offering allegiance just to get food. They have compromised their identity, their independence, their pride, all for bread. This is what desperation does. It forces choices that shame us, that we never thought we would make, that strip away dignity in the scramble for survival. Our fathers sinned and are no more, and we bear their iniquities. They are carrying consequences for sins they did not commit. Their fathers sinned, and those fathers are gone, dead, beyond the reach of consequences. But the children remain, and they are bearing the weight of choices made by a previous generation. The unfairness of it is staggering. Why should we suffer for what they did? Why should we carry guilt we did not earn? Yet, here they are, living with the aftermath, inheriting not blessing, but curse. Slaves rule over us. There is none to deliver us from their hand. The social order has been completely inverted. Those who used to be slaves are now in charge. Those who used to rule are now ruled, and there is no one to deliver them, no one to restore the proper order, no one to rescue them from this humiliation. They are trapped under the authority of those they used to command, and the reversal is bitter. We get our bread at the peril of our lives because of the sword in the wilderness. Our skin is hot as an oven with the burning heat of famine. Even getting food requires risking death. The wilderness is full of danger, of enemies with swords waiting to attack anyone who ventures out. And the famine has made their skin hot, feverish, as if they are burning from the inside, as if their bodies are ovens consuming themselves for lack of fuel. And here, beloved, as your breathing continues its slow, gentle rhythm, let me speak tenderly to the places in you that resonate with this prayer. Perhaps you too feel like an orphan, like someone without the protection and provision you were supposed to have. Perhaps you too are paying dearly for things that should be freely given, exhausting yourself just to meet basic needs, finding no rest anywhere. Perhaps you too are bearing consequences for sins you did not commit, carrying shame and pain that rightfully belong to someone else. Perhaps you too feel ruled over by forces you cannot control, trapped in situations you cannot escape, getting through each day at great peril with no guarantee of tomorrow. And if this is where you are tonight, if this prayer echoes your own heart, then let me give you the same healing word that Lamentations offers. When you do not know what to pray, when you are too tired for elaborate petitions, when words fail and theology seems irrelevant, you can always pray this, Lord, remember me. See what has happened. Look at my disgrace. Notice my pain. Do not forget me in my suffering. That is enough. God hears. God sees. God remembers. And that simple prayer, that cry from the depths, that plea for divine attention, is honored in heaven even when it feels like it disappears into silence on earth. Let your shoulders drop even lower now. Dear friend, feel the weight you have been carrying begin to ease, like morning mist rising when the sun touches it. The prayer continues, and now it gets even more specific, naming the horrors that have befallen different groups within the community. This is not a sanitized general lament. This is detailed testimony, honest accounting of suffering that is not hidden or minimized, but spoken plainly before God. Women are raped in Zion, young women in the towns of Judah. The sexual violence is named without euphemism. Women violated in the holy city itself. Young women in every town suffering the same. This is what happens in war, what conquering armies do to the conquered. But naming it here, bringing it before God in prayer, is an act of courage, an insistence that this violence matters, that these women matter, that their suffering is seen and acknowledged, even if justice has not yet come. Princes are hung up by their hands. No respect is shown to the elders. The leaders, those who used to command respect, are subjected to public humiliation and torture. Hung up by their hands, a form of crucifixion or extreme punishment. The elders, who should be honored for their wisdom and age, receive no respect. No, everything that was supposed to be sacred, every social norm that protected the vulnerable and honored the worthy, has been shattered. Young men are compelled to grind at the mill, and boys stagger under loads of wood. The work that was usually done by women or by animals is now forced on young men and boys. Grinding at the mill, carrying heavy loads of wood, laborious tasks that rob them of their strength and dignity. They stagger under burdens too heavy for their age, their backs bent, their spirits crushed, their future stolen by forced labor that will break their bodies before they reach adulthood. The old men have left the city gate, the young men their music. The places where life used to happen are now empty. The city gate, where elders used to sit and judge cases, where community business was conducted, where wisdom was shared, is abandoned. The young men who used to make music, who used to fill the air with songs and celebration, are silent. Joy has died. Community has collapsed. The normal rhythms of life have ceased. The joy of our hearts has ceased. Our dancing has been turned to mourning. Everything that brought joy is gone. The dancing, the celebrations, the festivals, the moments of happiness that made life bearable, have all been transformed into mourning. There is no relief from grief. There is no break from sorrow. Everything is tinged with loss. Everything reminds them of what they no longer have. Everything turns toward lamentation. The crown has fallen from our head. Woe to us, for we have sinned. The crown, the symbol of their honor and dignity and chosenness, has fallen. They have lost their special status, their position before God and among the nations, and they acknowledge why. Woe to us, for we have sinned. This is not just bad luck. This is not random suffering. this is consequence. This is what happens when covenant is broken, when God's ways are forsaken, when sin is allowed to flourish unchecked. For this our heart has become sick. For these things our eyes have grown dim. For Mount Zion, which lies desolate, jackals prowl over it. The sickness is not just physical. It is the heart that has become sick, the innermost self that can no longer function properly under the weight of grief. The eyes have grown dim, whether from crying or from the soul's exhaustion, or from the simple inability to bear seeing more devastation. And Mount Zion, the holy mountain, the place where God's temple stood, lies desolate, not just empty, desolate, prowled over by jackals, those wild scavengers that inhabit ruins, that make their dens in places where humans used to worship. And here, beloved, as your breathing deepens and your body begins to soften into rest, let me speak to the losses you carry that feel like the departure of glory. Perhaps there was a time when joy came easily to you, when dancing felt natural, when music filled your days. Perhaps you remember when your heart was not sick, when your eyes were bright, when the places that were supposed to be holy in your life were filled with God's presence, rather than prowled over by the wild things that inhabit ruins. Perhaps you too know what it feels like when the crown falls, when honor is lost, when you have to acknowledge that at least part of what you are suffering is consequence for your own choices. This prayer does not hide those realities. It does not pretend things are other than they are. It looks directly at the desolation, names it honestly, admits the part that sin played in bringing it about, and in that honesty, in that refusal to minimize or sugarcoat, there is a strange kind of freedom. You do not have to pretend to God. You do not have to act like things are fine when they are not. You can say, "The joy has ceased. The dancing has turned to mourning. My heart is sick. My eyes are dim. The places that were supposed to be holy are now desolate, and I have sinned. And some of this is my fault, and I do not know how to fix it." God can work with that honesty, beloved. He cannot work with denial or pretense or religious platitudes that cover over reality. But He can work with truth, even when the truth is painful, even when it includes confession of sin, even when it admits that the crown has fallen and glory has departed. Because He is the God who restores crowns, who brings back glory, who can cause joy to return and dancing to replace mourning. But that restoration begins with honest acknowledgement of where we actually are, not where we wish we were or where we think we should be, but where we truly stand in this moment. Now let your body become completely still. Dear friend, let every muscle release. Let your breath become so gentle it barely moves. We have come to the final words of Lamentations. to the ending that is not really an ending, to the prayer that leaves us hanging between despair and hope, between the reality of suffering and the conviction of God's eternal reign. And in this ending that does not resolve, in this prayer that asks questions without receiving answers, we will find a kind of rest that comes not from having everything figured out, but from placing ourselves in the hands of the one who reigns forever. But you, O Lord, reign forever. Your throne endures to all generations. After all the listing of horrors, after all the naming of losses, after all the honest confession of sin and suffering, comes this declaration: but you, everything else changes, everything else falls, but you, O Lord, reign forever. Your throne does not fall like our crown fell. Your position does not change like our position changed. Your power does not diminish like our power diminished. You reign forever. Through every generation, through every disaster, through every exile and every return, you remain on your throne. This is the anchor. Beloved, this is what holds when everything else is shaking. Not that circumstances are good, not that suffering has ended, not that all questions have been answered, but that God reigns, that His throne endures, that He is still sovereign even when it feels like chaos rules, still in control even when everything seems out of control, still God even when He feels absent. Why do you forget us forever? Why do you forsake us for so many days? And then comes the question, raw and honest and painful. Why, if you reign forever, why does it feel like you have forgotten us? If your throne endures, why does it seem like you have forsaken us? The days have been so many, God, so many days of suffering, so many days of feeling abandoned, so many days of crying out and hearing nothing back. Why the question is not answered. The book does not provide a neat theological explanation for why God's people suffer. It simply leaves the question hanging there, suspended between the affirmation of God's eternal reign and the reality of feeling forsaken. And perhaps that is more honest than any answer could be, more true to our actual experience of walking through suffering while still holding on to faith. Restore us to yourself, O Lord, that we may be restored. Renew our days as of old. This is the prayer beneath the question. Restore us. Bring us back to yourself. We cannot restore ourselves. We have tried and failed. We are exhausted, depleted, empty. But if you restore us to yourself, if you draw us back into relationship with you, then we will be restored. Everything else will follow from that. Renew our days as of old. not because the past was perfect, but because it was better than this, because there was joy then, because dancing happened and music played and hearts were not sick and eyes were not dim, unless you have utterly rejected us and you remain exceedingly angry with us. And here is the fear that underlies everything, the terrible possibility that keeps them awake at night. Unless you have completely rejected us, unless your anger is permanent, unless there is no restoration coming, no renewal possible, no way back from this exile. The sentence is left unfinished. The possibility hangs in the air, unresolved. And this, beloved, is how Lamentations ends. Not with certainty, but with questions. Not with answers, but with honest fear. Not with a happy resolution, but with the raw reality of waiting for God to act, hoping He will restore, fearing He might not, clinging to the truth that He reigns forever, even while feeling forsaken for so many days. It is an ending that mirrors real life, that reflects actual experience, that does not pretend faith is easier than it is, or that trusting God means having all your questions answered. And yet, dear one, there is rest to be found even here, in this unresolved ending, because the prayer itself, the act of bringing these questions and fears and hopes to God, is an act of faith. They are still praying. They are still bringing their pain to Him. They are still asking for restoration even while fearing rejection. They are still declaring His eternal reign even while questioning why He seems to have forgotten them. This is what faith looks like in the darkness. Not confidence that everything will be fine, but commitment to keep praying even when prayers seem unanswered. To keep hoping even when hope feels fragile. To keep turning toward God even when He feels far away. So tonight, as you drift toward sleep, as your body finally releases its grip on the day, as your mind begins to quiet and your heart begins to settle, take this unresolved ending as permission to rest, even when nothing is resolved. You do not have to have everything figured out before you can sleep. You do not have to have all your questions answered before you can rest. You do not have to feel God's presence before you can trust that He is present. You can simply do what Lamentations does. Acknowledge that He reigns forever. Ask why He seems to have forgotten you. Plead for restoration. Fear the possibility of rejection. And do all of this while resting in the reality that your prayer itself, your turning toward Him even in the darkness, is enough. God hears the prayers that end with questions. He receives the worship that comes from broken hearts. He honors the faith that clings to His sovereignty while admitting that His ways are confusing and His timing is frustrating and His silence is painful. You do not have to pretend to have more faith than you do. You do not have to manufacture certainty you do not feel. You do not have to act like everything is fine when your soul is crying out. Why have you forgotten us? Why have you forsaken us for so many days? Bring it all to Him, beloved. The questions, the fears, the desperate plea for restoration, the terrible worry that maybe He has utterly rejected you and will remain exceedingly angry forever. Bring all of it. Lay it before His throne that endures to all generations, and trust that He is big enough to hold your doubts, gentle enough to receive your fears, faithful enough to work restoration even when you cannot see how it could possibly happen. The book ends here, but your story does not. Lamentations leaves the people hanging, waiting, hoping, fearing. But we know what happened next. God did restore them. He did renew their days. He did bring them back from exile. The rejection was not utter. The anger was not permanent. The restoration came, just as He promised it would, just as His steadfast love that never ceases guaranteed it would, just as His mercies that are new every morning ensured it would. And the same is true for you, dear child. Your story is not over. The chapter you are in now, the season of waiting and questioning and fearing and hoping, is not the final chapter. God's mercies will be new tomorrow morning. His steadfast love will not cease. His throne will endure, and He will restore you to Himself. And in that restoration everything else will follow. The renewal will come. The joy will return. The dancing will replace mourning. The crown will be placed back on your head. Not because you earned it, not because you suffered enough, but because He is faithful, and His love never ends. And He cannot forget you no matter how many days pass, because you are written on the palms of His hands. So rest now, beloved. Rest in the unresolved. Rest in the questions. Rest in the space between declaring His eternal reign and asking why He seems to have forgotten you. Rest in the honest prayer that admits fear while still crying out for restoration. Rest in the knowledge that He hears, He sees, He remembers, and He will act in His perfect time. You do not have to figure it all out tonight. You do not have to resolve every question before you sleep. You can simply rest in His arms, held by a love that never ceases, sustained by mercies that will be new tomorrow morning, sheltered by a faithfulness that is great enough to carry you through every season until you are finally, fully, completely home. Let your eyes close now. Let your breathing slow to almost nothing. Let your heart, which has been holding so much, finally release and rest. You are safe. You are loved. You are not forgotten. And though the answers have not all come, Though the restoration is not yet complete, though the questions still hang in the air, you can rest tonight knowing that He reigns forever. His throne endures to all generations, and His plans for you are plans for good, for a future, for hope. Sleep now, precious child. Morning is coming. His mercies are waiting, and when you wake, you will find them there, new and fresh and exactly what you need. Amen. Chapter 6. Mourning as a Path of Faith. We have walked through 5 chapters of grief together. We have sat in the ruins with Jerusalem. We have heard the raw honesty of a people who lost everything. We have witnessed suffering named without shame, questions asked without apology, hope flickering in the middle of despair. And now, as we gather these threads together, as we look back at what we have heard, I want to speak to you about something that might change how you understand your own pain, your own tears, your own seasons of darkness. Lament is not the opposite of faith. Let that truth settle into your heart like a seed that will grow into something strong and sustaining. Lament is not what happens when faith fails. Lament is what faith does when it is being honest, when it refuses to pretend, when it brings the full weight of human suffering into the presence of God without editing, without softening, without making it more acceptable. We live in a world, beloved, that often tells us we should be positive, that we should count our blessings, that if we just had enough faith, we would not feel sad or angry or confused. We are told that strong Christians do not struggle, that mature believers do not question, that real faith looks like constant joy and unshakable confidence. And when we inevitably fail to live up to that impossible standard, when we find ourselves weeping in the night or crying out, "Why?" or feeling like God has forgotten us, we add shame to our suffering. We think something is wrong with us. We believe our tears are evidence of weak faith. But Lamentations teaches us something radically different. It shows us a people who have lost everything, who are sitting in literal ruins, who are watching their children starve and their city lie desolate and their temple stand empty. And what do? They pray. They turn toward God, not away from Him. They bring their pain to Him, not to someone else. They cry out to Him, not about Him. And they do it with such raw honesty, such unfiltered emotion, such freedom to name exactly what they are feeling, that it takes our breath away. How lonely sits the city that was full of people. How like a widow has she become. This is not positive thinking. This is lament, honest and unashamed. My eyes are spent with weeping. My stomach churns. My bile is poured out to the ground. This is not counting blessings. This is describing suffering in visceral, physical terms. Why do you forget us forever? Why do you forsake us for so many days? This is not unshakable confidence. This is questioning God directly, asking Him why He seems absent, expressing the fear that He might have abandoned them permanently. And all of this raw honesty, all of this unfiltered pain, all of this questioning and weeping and crying out is recorded in Scripture. It is given to us as a gift, as a model, as permission to be just as honest with God about our own suffering. The very fact that Lamentations exists in the Bible tells us something crucial. God values honesty over pretense. He receives lament as worship. He honors tears as prayers. He welcomes questions as conversation. Think about what Jerusalem does in these 5 chapters. She admits she has sinned. She describes her suffering in detail. She remembers better days, which makes the pain worse. She watches children die and women violated and leaders humiliated. She feels abandoned by God. She questions why He seems to have forgotten her. She fears that maybe His rejection is permanent, that maybe restoration will never come. And through all of this, she keeps praying. She keeps turning toward God. She keeps bringing her pain to Him even when He seems silent, even when comfort does not come, even when circumstances do not change. This is faith, beloved, not the faith that pretends everything is fine, not the faith that pastes a smile over grief, not the faith that refuses to admit struggle or doubt or fear, but the faith that says, I am in terrible pain, and I am bringing that pain to you, God, because you are the only one who can do anything about it. I do not understand why this is happening. I wish it were different. I am angry and confused and exhausted, but I am still here. I am still praying. I am still turning toward you, even when you feel far away. The very act of lamenting is an act of trust. When you cry out to God in your pain, you are trusting that He hears. When you bring your questions to Him, you are trusting that He can handle them. When you admit you feel abandoned, you are trusting that telling Him this matters, that He cares about your feelings, that honesty is more valuable to Him than religious performance. You would not bother crying out to someone you did not believe was listening. You would not waste energy questioning someone you did not think could answer. Lament assumes God's presence even when it complains about His apparent absence. Lament trusts God's goodness even when it questions His actions. Lament holds on to relationship even when it admits the relationship feels strained. And here, dear one, as your breathing slows and your body begins to soften, I want to give you permission you may never have received before. You are allowed to lament. You are allowed to cry. You are allowed to tell God exactly how you feel, even if what you feel is anger or confusion or the terrible fear that He has forgotten you. You are allowed to name your suffering without minimizing it. You are allowed to ask questions without having to immediately provide answers. You are allowed to sit in the ashes and admit that everything feels broken and you do not know how to fix it. This is not weak faith. This is honest faith. This is the kind of faith that can sustain you through the darkest nights because it does not require you to pretend, does not demand that you perform, does not insist that you have it all figured out. This is faith that can hold both the reality of suffering and the conviction of God's sovereignty, both the pain of the present and the hope for the future, both the questions that have no answers and the trust that continues despite the questions. Lamentations gives us a vocabulary for the valley, a language for loss, a way to pray when we are too broken for pretty words. It teaches us that we can weep bitterly and still be faithful. We can cry out why and still be trusting. We can admit we feel abandoned and still be in relationship with God. Our tears are not evidence of failed faith, but the language of a soul that still believes there is someone who cares, who listens, who will ultimately act. Let your shoulders drop even lower now. Beloved, feel any remaining tension flowing out like water flowing downhill, gentle and complete. We have established that lament is faithful, that tears are holy, that honesty with God is worship. And now we must speak about the hope that lives in the middle of the ruins, the light that flickers in the deepest darkness, the truth that holds us when everything else falls away. In the very center of Lamentations, right in the middle of chapter 3, right in the heart of the darkest book in the Bible, we find these words, "But this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness." These words do not come at the beginning when hope is easy. They do not come at the end when restoration has arrived. They come in the middle, in the depths, when suffering is at its worst and relief seems impossibly far away. They come after verses of describing affliction, after listing all the ways God seems to have become an enemy, after admitting that hope itself appeared dead. And then, suddenly, hope flickers back to life, not because circumstances changed, not because the pain lessened, but because of who God is. His steadfast love never ceases, never, not when you are in the valley, not when you feel abandoned, not when your prayers seem to bounce off heaven's ceiling, not when you have made terrible mistakes and are living with crushing consequences, not when others have failed you and you have failed yourself and everything looks hopeless. His love keeps going. It does not stop. It does not give up. It does not run out. It is steadfast, which means it is reliable, dependable, constant, always there, whether you feel it or not. His mercies never come to an end. There is no bottom to the well. There is no limit to his compassion. You cannot exhaust his mercy by needing it too many times. You cannot use it up by requiring it too often. It keeps flowing like a spring that never runs dry, like a fountain that never stops giving water. Every time you turn to him, no matter how many times you have had to turn before, there is mercy there, fresh and available and exactly what you need. They are new every morning, not recycled mercy from yesterday, not the same compassion you had last week. New, fresh, tailored to today's particular needs and struggles and pains. Every single morning, when you wake up and face another day that feels too hard, when you open your eyes and the first thought is how you will possibly get through the next 24 hours, there are new mercies waiting. You have not exhausted them. You have not depleted the supply. God has prepared fresh mercy for this new day, and it will be enough. And tomorrow there will be more. Great is your faithfulness. God's faithfulness is not small or conditional or dependent on your performance. It is great, vast, reliable, as certain as the sun rising, as dependable as the seasons changing. You can count on it when you cannot count on anything else. You can lean your full weight on it when everything else collapses. You can trust it when trust feels impossible because it is rooted not in your strength, but in his character, not in your consistency, but in his nature. This is the hope that sustains in the ruins. Beloved, not hope that circumstances will immediately change, because often they do not. Not hope that pain will quickly end, because sometimes it lingers. But hope rooted in the unchanging character of God, in his steadfast love that never ceases, in his mercies that are new every morning, in his faithfulness that is great. This hope says that no matter how dark it gets, no matter how long it lasts, no matter how impossible restoration seems, God has not changed. His love is still there. His mercy is still flowing. His faithfulness is still holding everything together. And this hope, this stubborn, resilient, deeply rooted hope, is what allowed Jerusalem to keep praying even in exile, to keep believing even when the temple was destroyed, to keep trusting even when God seemed silent, because they knew, at a level deeper than circumstances, deeper than feelings, deeper than immediate experience, that God's steadfast love never ceases. And if his love never ceases, then the story is not over. The exile is not permanent. the discipline has a limit. The restoration will come, and we know they were right to hope. We know the end of the story that Lamentations does not tell. We know that 70 years later, just as God promised, the people returned. The temple was rebuilt. Joy came back. Dancing replaced mourning. The steadfast love that never ceased brought them home. The mercies that were new every morning sustained them through the exile. The faithfulness that is great proved itself trustworthy, and the same hope is available to you tonight, dear one. The same steadfast love that held Jerusalem holds you. The same mercies that sustained them through exile will sustain you through your hard season. The same faithfulness that brought them home will bring you through to the other side. You may be in ruins right now. Your temple may be destroyed. Your walls may be broken. Your crown may have fallen. But God's love has not ceased. His mercies have not ended. His faithfulness has not wavered. And tomorrow morning, when you wake, when you face another day in the valley, when you wonder if you can keep going, there will be new mercies waiting. Not because you earned them, not because you finally got your act together, not because you prayed enough or believed hard enough or suffered sufficiently, but because God is faithful, and His love never stops, and His character does not change based on your circumstances. This is the hope that can sustain you through anything. Beloved, not optimism about circumstances, not positive thinking about outcomes, but confidence in the unchanging character of God. He loved you yesterday. He loves you today. He will love you tomorrow. His mercies were there yesterday. They are here today. They will be there tomorrow. His faithfulness held you yesterday. It holds you today. It will hold you tomorrow. And that is enough. That has to be enough. Because it is true whether you feel it or not, whether you see evidence of it or not, whether your circumstances reflect it or not. Now, beloved child, let your body become completely still. Let every muscle release its hold. Let your breath become so gentle it barely disturbs the air. Let your mind begin to quiet like a forest at twilight, when all the day's activity settles into peaceful silence. We have walked through lament together. We have found hope in the ruins. And now, as this night draws toward sleep, as your weary soul prepares for rest, let me speak over you words of comfort, words of blessing, words that will carry you safely into the peace you so desperately need. You have been carrying so much, dear one. I can see it in the way your shoulders hold tension, in the way your breath sometimes catches, in the way your heart has been bracing itself against more pain. You have been strong for so long. You have held it together when everything felt like it was falling apart. You have kept going when you wanted to stop. You have carried burdens that were never meant to be carried alone. And you are tired, so tired. Tired in your bones, tired in your spirit, tired in places that sleep alone cannot reach. But tonight, right now, in this moment, I want to invite you to do something that might feel scary, might feel impossible, might feel like giving up, even though it is actually the opposite. I want to invite you to lay your burden down. Not forever, not permanently, just for tonight, just while you sleep, just long enough to let your exhausted soul rest in the knowledge that someone else is holding what you cannot hold. That stronger hands than yours are carrying what is too heavy for you. That you do not have to figure it all out before you close your eyes. Lay down the grief you have been carrying, the losses that ache in your chest, the people who are gone, the dreams that died, the innocence you cannot reclaim, the time you cannot get back. Lay it down. God sees it. God knows it. God holds it. You do not have to clutch it through the night for it to be real or valid or important. You can release your grip and let Him hold it for you while you rest. Lay down the fear that whispers in the dark, the worry about tomorrow, the anxiety about what might happen, the terror of losing more than you have already lost, the dread that this hard season will never end. Lay it down. His mercies will be new tomorrow morning. You do not have to solve tomorrow's problems tonight. You do not have to carry tomorrow's burdens while you are supposed to be resting. You can let Him hold your future while you sleep, trusting that He is already there, already preparing the way, already working out details you cannot see. Lay down the shame that has been weighing on you, the regret over what you did or did not do, the guilt over how you handled things, the embarrassment over your weakness, your failure, your very human inability to be perfect. Lay it down. His steadfast love never ceases. It does not stop when you make mistakes. It does not run out when you fail. It is there, constant and sure, covering your shame, offering mercy instead of condemnation, extending grace instead of judgment. Lay down the anger you have been holding, the rage at what was done to you, the fury at how things turned out, the bitterness toward those who hurt you and never apologized, who failed you and never acknowledged it, who walked away and never looked back. Lay it down, not because it is not valid, but because holding it through the night will only poison your sleep. God is just. He sees what was done to you. He will deal with it in His way, in His time. You can trust Him with your anger while you rest. Lay down the questions that have been circling in your mind. the why questions that have no answers, the how long questions that God has not yet revealed, the what if questions that lead nowhere but deeper into anxiety. Lay them down. You do not have to understand everything to trust God. You do not have to have all the answers to rest in His arms. You can sleep without knowing, can close your eyes without comprehending, can release your need to figure it all out and simply trust that He knows, He understands. He has a plan that is working even when you cannot see it. Lay down the exhaustion itself, the bone-deep tiredness that comes from holding too much for too long, the weariness of spirit that comes from walking through valleys that seem endless, the fatigue that makes everything harder, that steals your joy, that robs you of the energy you need to face each day. Lay it down. His strength is made perfect in weakness. When you are too tired to stand, He carries you. When you are too weak to fight, He fights for you. When you have nothing left, He has everything you need. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. These are Jesus' words, spoken to people just like you, people who are carrying too much, who are exhausted by the weight of it all, who need someone to tell them it is okay to stop striving and simply rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. His yoke is easy, His burden is light, not because the circumstances are easy, but because He carries the weight of them, not because life is light, but because He lifts what is heavy from your shoulders and takes it onto His own. When you yoke yourself to Him, when you let Him be the one who bears the load, when you stop trying to carry everything yourself, you find rest. Not the rest of having no responsibilities, but the rest of knowing you are not alone in them. Not the rest of having no burdens, but the rest of having someone infinitely strong share the carrying of them. So tonight, beloved child, as you lie down to sleep, as your eyes close and your breathing deepens, and your consciousness begins to fade into the soft darkness of rest, know this: you are held, not by your own strength, which has run out, not by your own resources, which are depleted, not by your own understanding, which cannot make sense of all this, but by arms that never tire, by a love that never ceases, by a faithfulness that is great enough to carry you through every season, through every valley, through every dark night of the soul. You are held by the God who counts your tears, who stores them in a bottle, who never forgets a single sorrow you have cried. You are held by the God whose mercies are new every morning, who has already prepared fresh grace for when you wake, who will meet you in tomorrow with exactly what you need, even though you cannot imagine it now. You are held by the God who reigns forever, whose throne endures through every storm, who has never once been caught off guard or overwhelmed or unsure what to do. And because you are held by him, you can rest. You can close your eyes without fear. You can release your grip without everything falling apart. You can stop striving, stop holding, stop carrying, stop protecting, stop controlling, and simply trust that the God who loved you enough to count the hairs on your head, who knows you intimately enough to call you by name, who values you highly enough to give his own Son for you, will not drop you now. The ruins you are sitting in tonight are not your forever home. The exile you are living through is not permanent. The grief you are carrying has an expiration date. The night you are walking through will give way to morning. The tears you are crying are watering seeds of joy that will one day bloom. The questions you are asking will one day be answered. And even if some remain mysteries, you will find that knowing God himself is more satisfying than knowing all the answers. So sleep now, precious child. Sleep deeply. Sleep peacefully. Sleep with the assurance that you are safe in the arms of a God who never sleeps, never slumbers, never stops watching over you. Sleep knowing that his love surrounds you like a fortress. His mercy covers you like a blanket. His faithfulness undergirds you like a foundation that cannot be shaken. Sleep trusting that tomorrow's mercies are already prepared. Tomorrow's strength is already available. Tomorrow's grace is already sufficient. You do not have to be strong anymore tonight. You do not have to hold it together. You do not have to keep going. You can stop. You can rest. You can lay your burden down and let the God who said, "Cast all your anxieties on me, for I care for you," do what he promised to do. He will hold what you cannot hold. He will carry what is too heavy for you. He will sustain you through the night and meet you in the morning with mercies that are new, with faithfulness that is great, with a love that never, ever ceases. Rest now, beloved. Rest deeply. Rest completely. Rest in the arms of the one who has never left you, who will never abandon you, who walks through every valley with you and promises to bring you out the other side. When the tears fall, he is still there. When the night is darkest, he is still there. When hope feels dead, he is still there, holding it tenderly, keeping it alive, preparing to breathe life into it again when the time is right. You are loved, deeply, intimately, completely loved. You are known, fully, tenderly, accurately known. You are held, securely, gently, eternally held. And you are not alone. Not tonight, not tomorrow, not ever. The God whose steadfast love never ceases, whose mercies are new every morning, whose faithfulness is great, is with you always, forever, without fail. Sleep now, dear child of the Eternal Father. Sleep in peace. Sleep in safety. Sleep in the confidence that you are held by a love stronger than death, more enduring than the mountains, more faithful than the sunrise. And when you wake, when morning comes, when you open your eyes to face another day, those new mercies will be there waiting, because that is who He is. That is what He does. That is the promise that holds when everything else falls away. Good night, beloved. Rest well. You are safe. You are loved. You are His. And that is enough. That will always be enough. Amen.